Hello everyone, welcome back to day 11 lecture of how to learn DevOps and cloud computing in 60 days. In today's lecture, we are going to learn something called multi-branch pipeline, and we will also understand why do we need to build multi-branch pipeline, and we will compare multi-branch pipeline with declarative pipeline that we have built in our previous lecture. And we will go ahead and then implement a multi-branch pipeline for a Java web app that we have already configured inside GitHub. So what is multi-branch pipeline and then why do we need them? So now let's try to understand this simple use case. Now let's say that you are a DevOps engineer, you are working with a team. Let's say that they are developing some Java based application. So currently they're not doing parallel development. They just have single repository and then one or two branches. Okay. So now you went ahead and then created a declarative pipeline for them. So whenever you actually create a declarative pipeline, you need to mention the branch name, right? For example, if I can take you back to Jenkins, if you look at the configuration of this declarative pipeline that we have built in our previous lecture, you see here, right? So you have created this pipeline job and then you are mentioning the branch name, right? So it means that whenever you are creating a pipeline, it doesn't matter whether it is a scripted pipeline or a declarative pipeline, you'll have to mention the branch name, right? So what this pipeline will do, whenever there is any code change in this branch, it will go ahead and then, automate the entire CI/CD workflow, right? So it will go ahead, check out the code, perform build, it will perform all the code quality check and whatnot. And then, whatever you have configured in the pipeline, right? So basically, this will really work when you have a repository and then maybe one or two branches, right? But let's say that, the team is actually expanding, right? The company is actually growing. So what would you do when they started implementing parallel development, right? For example, so let's say that, they started building a couple of features. They're also working on a couple of releases. They also have some hotfix and whatnot. So in a single repository, you're talking about multiple branches. So how would you create a pipeline for each and every branch? So if you wanted to implement in a declarative model, so you'll have to actually create another pipeline and then you'll have to target against that branch, right? So let's say that you have a single repository and then let's say you have 6 branches. So you need to configure 6 different pipeline manually, correct? So this is a tedious process. I'm just talking about a single repository and then multiple branches. But what if you have several repositories and then each and every repository you have various branches, right? So creating a scripted pipeline or a declarative pipeline will not actually help you, right? So this is where you can actually go for something called multi-branch pipeline. So assume that you are actually creating a declarative pipeline. So when you create a declarative pipeline, you need to have a Jenkins file for that branch, correct? For example, if you remember, in our previous lecture, we have created a declarative pipeline for this particular Java web app. So this is a project that we have implemented declarative pipeline. So we have created this Jenkins file, and then this repository had, only one branch. Now let's say, team is actually working on parallel development where they are planning for like multiple releases. So let's say they are planning for one release in 2 months and then another release maybe in 3 to 4 months. And then, another big release in like 5 to 6 months. So there are a lot of, code changes which is happening, in parallel mode. So how do you actually go ahead and then implement pipeline for each and every branch, right? So you cannot just simply, go and create a pipeline for each and every branch manually, right? So this is where, you can actually create something called multi-branch pipeline. So whenever you create a new branch, that new branch needs to have a Jenkins file. So as long as you have a Jenkins file in each and every branch, so you are totally fine, right? So whenever you actually create a multi-branch pipeline against a repository, it will automatically create a pipeline for you. So you don't have to do anything, right? So that's the beauty of multi-branch pipeline. So we will actually see that, in the demo. So that's the reason why, guys, why we are actually, needing multi-branch pipeline. So as you can see here, it has the ability to, scan the repository, that particular repository, and then it would, automatically create a pipeline for each and every branch in an automated manner. So you just needs to have a, single job for all your branches in that repository, right? So due to this, you are actually having, improved CI/CD workflow, correct? And then there is also one more advantage. So as you can see in this diagram, right? Now let's say you have, several branches. So each and every branch you can actually have customized pipeline implementation, right? So for example, let's say, you're working on a feature to branch. So you're not planning on, releasing, let's say in, 3 or 4 months. So you can just implement only the CI, not the CD yet, right? So that's the beauty of, multi-branch pipeline. So you can have customized implementation for each and every branch in your repository. Okay. And then, based on pull request creation and all, so you can also actually, automate your build, and then, you can automate your test execution and whatnot, whenever you're actually using, any Git-based repository. So now let's quickly compare, multi-branch pipeline with declarative pipeline. I know we briefly talked about it. So the major disadvantage of declarative pipeline is, yes, you are creating, pipeline for a branch, right? So you'll have to go and manually create a pipeline for each and every branch in your repository. Whereas in multi-branch, everything is, automatically created, right? So that's the beauty of it. Okay. So this is configured manually, whereas, everything is kind of, completely automated. So you also need to install something called webhooks. So whenever you are, creating a new branch, so it can automatically detect the code changes, and then it will automatically create the pipeline for you. So we will talk about that. We will see that, in the demo process. So all you need to do is, just create a Jenkins file for each and every branch, and then you're all set. Great. So now let's go ahead and then, implement declarative pipeline for the same Java web app that we have already configured in GitHub. So before we get started, let's quickly go through the prerequisites. Yes, we have already implemented, scripted pipeline, multi-branch pipeline. So same set of prerequisites. So I do have everything configured over here: Jenkins, SonarQube, Tomcat, Nexus, and then my Slack channel. And then of course, that's my Java project. And then we do have all the plugins installed inside Jenkins. So we are good to go. And then we also have Aqua Tree Scanner installed as well in my Jenkins. So we are also good to go on that, right? So we are kind of using the same setup by which, we have already implemented scripted pipeline and then declarative pipeline. So now let's go ahead and then implement multi-branch pipeline for the Java web app that we have already configured in GitHub. So go to GitHub. So if you look at this repository, this has only one branch, isn't it? So now let's go ahead and then, create few more branches, because we are kind of simulating parallel development model, right? So let me go ahead and then create, a few more branches. So let me call this as, let's say, develop branch. Okay, so I'm also going to call, let's say, my future one branch, and I'm going to call my future 2 branch. And let's say, we are also planning for some release, let's say during Labor Day. So let's say we also have, release branch as well. And then let's say, sometime you deploy it into production. Who knows, right? If there are any issues, you'll have to fix it. So we also have hotfix branch as well. So if you see here, right, our original branch, which was main, it already had a Jenkins file, correct? Now we created, 5 more branches. So obviously, right, so each and every branch is going to obviously have all the files, including Jenkins file, correct? So we have all the things, that you would need in order to create a multi-branch pipeline, right? So now let's get back to Jenkins. So let's go ahead and then, create a new item. So I'm going to call this as multi-branch pipeline and click on multi-branch pipeline. So let's go ahead and then press OK. There you go. So now multi-branch pipeline is created. So click on branch sources. So this is where, we have to add our GitHub URL. So click on Git. So let's provide our GitHub URL. So this is the repository. So don't provide any, branch reference in the URL. Okay. So copy that over here, and then it is asking for GitHub credentials. So we have added this as part of our previous lab exercises, right? So now let's go ahead and then, enter our credential. So let's go ahead and then, enter our credentials. So I have already created Pat as part of our previous lab. So I'm going to use, same Pat. Perfect. So that's it, right? So, implementing multi-branch pipeline is a lot easier as you already have Jenkinsfile for each and every branch, right? So that's it. So I'm fine with all this thing. So let's go ahead and then, click on apply and save. Wow. So do you all see here? Look at the beauty, guys. As soon as you actually create a multi-branch pipeline, this automatically created pipeline for each and every new branch. Wow. So as soon as you actually create a multi-branch pipeline, this automatically, scan the entire repository, and then it has created pipeline for each and every branch in the same repository, right? So you can see here, the build is, in progress, right? So I'm not too much worried about, the status of the build. So if you have configured everything, if your URLs are correct, it should go ahead and then, perform the build. But let me actually show you one more feature. So now think about a scenario. Let's say that, now let's think about the scenario. Let's say that you have, now let's actually think about a scenario, right? So now let's think about a scenario. Let's say that you have implemented multi-branch pipeline for this particular. So now let's think about the scenario. Let's say that you have already implemented multi-branch pipeline for this particular Java repository. Now let's say you have already, let's say you have already implemented multi-branch pipeline for this particular repository, which has 6 branches, right? So everything is, good. But so now let's say you have already, so now let's think of this scenario, right? So now let's talk about this scenario. Now let's say that you have already implemented multi-branch pipeline for this particular, repository. Okay, all good, right? So your pipeline, everything is, configured. But let's say team wants to, add one more new branch. Okay, so let's say, they are actually, planning for one more release. So they have to create, one more branch. So what would happen? So whenever you create a new branch, so let's find out, right? So let's say I wanted to create a new branch called my feature 3, okay, from main. So you can see here, right? So we have created, a 7th branch here, okay? But if I actually go into Jenkins, so you see here, right? So Jenkins is, not automatically, detecting the code changes, right? So I have to literally, click on scan. So whenever you actually click on scan manually, then, it will actually go ahead and then, create a new pipeline for that branch. If I refresh, there you go. You all can see, right? So it actually created a pipeline for my feature 3 branch, right? But again, this is actually manual, correct? But is there a way you can actually automate this? Meaning, once you created, multi-branch pipeline, whenever there is any new branch, being created, you should find a way to automatically create the pipeline, right? Isn't it? So this is where, you have to install some plugin. Okay, so let me show you. So go into Manage Jenkins, Manage Plugins, Available plugins. So look for multi-branch scan webhook trigger plugin. So click on this one, click on install. So whenever you actually install this plugin, once you configure this plugin, whenever there is any new branch is being created in the repository, it will automatically create the pipeline for you. So let's find out. So let's go back to Jenkins, go back to the same multi-branch pipeline job, go to configure because we have to configure that. Okay, so click on scan multi-branch pipeline triggers. So there you go. You all see this scan by webhook. Okay, so let's enter some token here. I'm going to say my token 123, and then you can actually click on this question mark. There you go. So now they have provided us the URL, right? How this webhooks needs to be configured in GitHub. So let's copy that. Go into GitHub, go to the repository settings and go to webhooks and click on add webhook. Or you can also, modify your existing webhook as well. Since you have, since you are converting from declarative pipeline into multi-branch pipeline, you can also, modify your existing webhook as well. Not a problem. So click on edit. So let's update the payload URL. So we have to put Jenkins URL over here. So that is my Jenkins URL. And then this is the token. So please do understand that is actually case sensitive. Token equals whatever the token is. That's it. So click on update. So you can also quickly validate your configuration. So click on the three dots, redeliver. Fantastic. So you can see here our webhook configuration is good. We got a response 200. Wonderful. So now if I go ahead and then create a new branch, let me actually save this. And you can already see here, it automatically detected, right? So it already shows that, we have 7 pipeline basically for, each and every branch, a pipeline for each and every branch, right? So now let me go ahead and then create a new branch. Okay. So for example, let's say I wanted to build my feature 4, let's say from main. So click on this one. So we have total 8 branches. So let's go into Jenkins. See, I'm not clicking on anything. You already see here it automatically, detected the code change, right? It already started scanning. There you go. You go back here, you're going to see 8th branch, right? So it is very important that, once you configure multi-branch pipeline, you also, install that plugin and then configure your multi-branch pipeline in order to detect new branch changes immediately, right? So that pipeline can be created automatically, right? And then let's also actually learn about a couple of more things, right? Let me just pick up Labor Day release, right? Let's say I don't want to implement the CD part of that, right, for that branch. So you can actually go to Jenkinsfile, okay? Now let's say you want to implement only CI, not the CD yet. So not a problem, right? So you can completely customize the respective Jenkins file for that branch, right? So for example, let's say I don't want to implement CD for now. You can go ahead and then delete that. So there you go. So you can say commit changes and then you can say implement only CI for now. Commit changes. Okay, so obviously as soon as you make code changes here, it would automatically run the pipeline for that particular branch. There you go. You already see that in the build queue. And then let's also get back to GitHub. So now let's say for a branch you don't want to implement pipeline at all for now. Okay, so for example, let's just look at my feature 4. So let's say, you don't want to implement, CI/CD yet for this particular branch. So we already have a Jenkins file, right? So all you have to do is, go ahead and then delete the Jenkins file. So when you delete the Jenkins file for that branch, right? So it will not actually, run the pipeline. So you can see here, I'm deleting the Jenkins file against my feature 4 branch. Click on commit changes. So I'm going to say no CI/CD needed for now. Click on commit changes. Okay, so now if I get back into my pipeline here, okay, just refresh. Wow, do you all see here? So this automatically deleted that pipeline for us, right? So yes, this is how you can actually implement multi-branch pipeline for any repository that you have already configured in your SCM tool. So what we have learned is, creating the Jenkins file for each and every branch is crucial, and then you can actually customize your Jenkins file based on your need, so that you can have customized pipeline implementation for each and every branch in that single repository. All right, fantastic guys. I hope you all learned something new in this lecture. I'm really looking forward to see you all in the next lecture. Thank you so much.